To the cloud. Hello and welcome. We are going to talk about part 2 of the Crystal Reiki Shamanic initiation. And this one talks about timelines, and we're talking about our ancestors, we're talking about our family, we're talking about how we got here, and all the other systems and patterns that we're carrying on in our life today. So the program starts September 22nd, but even if you are not joining here, we are going to talk about all of the other energies around us that are influencing us. So maybe you get an awareness of what's going on in your life that you didn't see before. I'm looking up because I'm talking to you live. Hi, Jolie. Thank you so much for understanding. It's been a day. I already went through this class a little bit and I forgot to hit the record button, which is not good. And then I'm also looking down below because it has a better quality, and I'm going to upload that video too. So that's what I'm doing. All right. So to start off, let me grab my little notes. We were talking about timelines, and timelines are, they're past lives, they're this life. Like, we always think it's linear. I was a baby, I'm a young adult, now I'm adult, I get to be an old person, all of those different things. It's a timeline. However, timelines are not linear. They're more like a spider web, and everything's intricated. So if you think about a past life that is affecting this life, it really does. If you think about your ancestors, they're affecting this life from previous life, it still does. So I want to start off by talking about your soul family. And when you come into this world right now in this age, you have a soul family that you picked when you were up above, when you were up in cloud 9, before you came here. And there's probably people in your life that you have met and you go, I recognize them. Or I like to look in people's eyes. That's where you can see everything about them. If they have attachments, there's a lot of things that you can tell by the eyes. To see if I know them before, where did I meet them at? Because half the time what happens is you elect people that you've already had previous lives with, that you're still evolving, still growing and coming together. And you guys may pick different roles. Like, I may be a child in one lifetime, but in the next lifetime, I'm the mom taking care of somebody else. So your soul family, I'll give you a really good example. My husband and I met because I was driving on the road and I looked over, I was 16, and I saw a really hot guy walking on the road. He was on the sidewalk. And I said, hey, can I give you a ride? It's because my soul recognized his soul. I would never, ever do that again, knowing how dangerous that is. But I did. I picked up my husband at age 17 as he was walking because I got the intuitive hit that I need to connect with him. And it's because he is part of my soul family. We've already known each other in a previous life. More to come about that story. So when you are with people, this isn't your first go around with them. You select people because you've had prior experiences with them. Again, it's not linear. Another story was when I was pregnant, I know that I knew my son. Like, I knew it. I could feel it. I knew it. And I knew that I had to heal stuff from a past life, and that was part of my mission in this life. So I got busy and got to work right away, because you don't want that other stuff to come through. So your soul family, there's also like places that you might be familiar in. Like your soul knows that you grew up at a certain house, or that you are really drawn to an area. Your soul knows all of these things, again, because it's not linear. It's more like, I keep thinking of a spider web. Everything is all pulled together. But my soul really knows Ireland because I have an unresolved life that happened in Ireland that is affecting this one. And when my husband and I, probably second year, we were planning a trip to Ireland. I've never been, but I wanted to go. And it's not ironic that I didn't have any interest in Ireland until I met my husband, right? Because that's where I met my husband in this previous life. And I could tell him streets. I knew where things were. And he's like, how do you know this stuff? And I'm like, I really don't know. It feels like home to me. And it feels like home because I've been there before. There's other people who get really drawn to certain houses, like even now, that they'll find a house and they go, I have to be in that house, or that place is drawing me. And it's because of a past life that you had there. But what happens is this past life is going to be influencing this life. It's going to be bringing it up, the old, outdated patterns, so that you go back into the same system, because the same system already knows the system. Does that make sense? Like we already have the old imprint is still on us. So we're trying to put in a new imprint so that we're not carrying out outdated beliefs. I saw the other day, I don't watch a lot of Amy Allen shows. She's on the Dead Files. Do you guys know her? But this one show that I watched, this woman owns a hotel. She gave up like a 5-star island vacation, took her whole entire family, went to this hotel. And she's like, the hotel's haunted, but I can't leave this hotel. It just feels like home. And Amy Allen is like, yes, it feels like home because you've already done this, but you have to leave this behind and shift to a new place. And she's like, but I can't. And she said, apparently in the show, it looked like it was breaking her family apart. But because it was so strong, this woman she could not leave this hotel, and she stayed. And it's because of this previous life. So everything that we do in shamanism, we look at it from a non-judgmental place. We look at everything from an observer and not one that is completely involved and fully present and fully living into something. Because you can have more awareness when there's non-judgment that's attached to it. So when we're looking through our timelines, when you're looking through past lives, you really want to have that kind of perspective. The other thing, oh yeah, that was the other thing. That's funny. I'm going to tell you that in a second. So now we're going to talk about your ancestral line. So you already have, you know about your soul family. You know that there's previous lives that you lived. A lot of people want to tap into those lives. You can do through meditation, or even being hypnotized. You will start saying and talking about those previous past lives that come up. And then there's also your ancestral line. So your ancestral line is everything who has passed before you. And this is where it gets kind of fun and kind of creepy all at the same time, because that's where your old beliefs, that's where your old experiences, that's where your outdated beliefs all sit in. So you may be repeating an experience or repeating an outdated belief and not realize where it came from, but it's not actually yours. In our DNA, we call this junk DNA, and all of this other stuff that is hardcore pressed into us comes down the lineage, and it will come into you. The best one that I can give you an example about that would be like understandable is the theme of slavery. And we're going to talk about themes, but if you think about slavery, maybe it was, not slavery, abundance. That's my second thought, sorry, abundance. So back then we had communal living where everybody lives together. We all had different, it's one space or one town, but we all did services for each other. There were no bank accounts. There wasn't, there might have been a castle and everybody lived within the castle, but you do services for other people. And through that, we have belief systems of life is hard. I'll never make any money. I can't make anything out of myself. And those patterns from your ancestors trickle down into your DNA because they haven't been cleared. They haven't been processed. So then you are here, you come here and you're like, oh, Amber, life is so hard. And I'm like, wait a minute, is life really hard, or where did that come from? So we sit down and we track it back to the ancestor that first initiated that image or that imprint. Your imprints are ingrained in your system. There's so much, I know we're physical bodies. There's so much around you, so much around you. These imprints are always in you. And that's why when we scan you on like crystal Reiki or practitioners or regular Reiki, the imprints come up that need to be released or that are on top of the surface. So we have to clear them because they're not really yours. There's something else, okay? Or there's someone else's. We have to find out where they came from. So they come down the line and you go, well, I don't know. I remember my grandfather saying that when I was young, I would never make anything out of myself or get a blue collar job, and that's the way to go. When I was growing up, I wanted to go to school to become a chef. I love cooking. I love cooking. So I would go into, in our high school, we had a blue ribbon school. And one of the programs that you could pick was culinary. And I came home and I was like, Mom, they have culinary. I want to go in here and become a chef. And she's like, Amber, chefs do not make any money. You have to be a secretary because that's the way to get your money. That's the way how society is right now to get ahead in life. And I went, ew, I don't want to do that. But what happened in that moment is that there was a pattern that was passed down to me. One, that women really can't get ahead in life. And two, that I had to follow by the rules. I can't follow my heart, right? So there's a split there. And is it true? It's not true. It's a belief system that got passed down because she probably heard or learned the way that she had to be, experience, live in order to be successful in life. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Just give me a little likes up there. I want to make sure I'm not like going too fast. Awesome. Good. Okay. Not only do we have karma in our past life. So karma is cause and effect of what you may have done in a previous life will come back to you now. If there's unfinished business from a previous life, it comes back to you now. I've looked at my past lives and I'm pretty, like one of my past lives, I wanted to be a nun. I'm pretty spiritual in all my past lives. I have the same theme, and that's what everything's about. It's about the same theme. But I never got my objectives done, right? In any of my lives of my spirituality. It didn't matter if I was, in the middle of the woods being creative Amber and shamanism and, talking to the elves in the trees. It didn't matter if I was a nun. My theme was always spirituality, but my goals were never achieved. So here I am now, and I'm replaying it over again because I'm like, you know what? I really need to get ahead. I really need to put everything together. Okay, did I tell you my phone's cracked? I should just mention my phone is really cracked. So when I'm looking over here, it's because this is really cool. I know a lot of this, but I really like, oh, thank you. Thank you so much. So what happens is you have karma, you have your past life stuff, and you also have your ancestral lineage that is coming down into this life. We are at the core of everything. We are love, compassion, joy, and anything less than that is not us. It is not our true self. So when things happen, you have to look and go, where is this energy coming from? How is this showing up in my life? Is this old? Is it outdated? Is it from my ancestors? Is it from a past life? Why are these experiences being drawn to me now? Good question to ask, right? So you have attitudes, memories that are not personal. They're not personal. Your ancestral lineage is not personal. And then you also have, so this is the other thing that I said was kind of weird. You have hitchhikers. And hitchhikers are more like earthbound spirits because they can be in between the realms that can come through with you, one, to this lifetime, and she could have just hitched a ride into this one. Two, you have ancestors that think that they can assist you or think that they can help you, and that's really who I like dealing with. And they're all on the other side, and they come through, and I will get this repeated name, Beth, 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 and I'm like, who the heck is Beth? Oh, she's an ancestor. Okay, ancestor, show me yourself. Tell me about yourself. What's going on here? So I love to talk to my ancestors. I love to retrieve information. I like to retrieve recipes in the kitchen. I'm like, what do you guys think about this? What should I do with this? But there's also these hitchhikers. So these hitchhikers can come through in different ways, and they try to influence you and your energy field around you, about your beliefs, about your ideas, about what you're doing. And they are the hitchhikers. Those hitchhikers need to be brought to the light as well. So even though you're working on something, there might be an ancestor who comes over to, they can drain you, or they can assist you, they can help you with the same problem. So let's think about a person who has like addiction problems, okay? Let's say you're in the physical and you have an addiction problem. Then what would happen is there could be an ancestor on the other side who had the same addiction problem, who did not cross over and walk into the light. They may be earthbound, and they come over to you because they really, one, they know you, your family. You may have never met them, but your family. Number two, they resonate with the vibration of your energy. So let's say you're an alcoholic and they were an alcoholic. You would be feeding yourself, but you're also feeding them. And that's what keeps them alive. They loved, and I'm going to say corrupt energy to sustain them. But not always do they mean to harm you. They don't mean to suck out your energy. It's not their intention, but it's the same vibration as each other. So when we are healing, especially when we're doing this class, we are going to be healing our ancestors or anybody around us who has these lower vibrations, who may need help at this time. And they go all the way back. We go back 7 generations. So anything that you heal now, you're healing your grandmother, your mother, your grandmother, your great-grandmother, and all the way back into the line. I love during this time, especially with Halloween coming up and the veil is thin, to check out who your ancestors are. Where do they come from? What do they do? Any kind of information that you can dig up on them would be really neat, because when we make our altar, or if we're going to clear out our room, we're going to also honor them as well through ceremony, so that they are acknowledged and that they can go into the light too. Because one, we don't want hitchhikers. We don't want hitchhikers. But I've been so strong about this ever since I was little. We all go home this time. Don't make me cry, because every time I say that, it's like a rush of energy comes up. We all go home this time. Not just some of us. We all do this time, because in shamanism, I'm a spirit, you're a spirit, they're a spirit. And even though they may drink a lot, they may not have the vibration, the understanding, the compassion for themselves that you and I may have to assist them and help them, which also helps us, and it frees our energy. So we're going to be doing some ancestral work. And I also want to use, this is about crystals, this whole entire next 8 weeks, because crystals are, they are the point of this whole entire thing. They're the way that energy can come in from your physical body and connect in with the spiritual realm. When you have a crystal, let me see if I have one next to me. I don't know if I actually have one next to me. What do I have? When you have a crystal, your vibration, your energy field is always changing. Your aura is always changing. So when people come to you and they're like, Amber, what's my color? And you're in a really good mood, your color might be clean, it might be clear. But then let's say you're angry and you come to me and you're like, Amber, what is my color? Then it might be red, it could be a lower vibration, it could be like dark, or I'm going to say dusty mixed in within red. So your aura is always changing. Your emotions are constantly changing. Your chakras are shifting. However, and this is a very tiny crystal that I have, this guy doesn't change. Oh, there you go. I forgot I have 2. So the crystal's energy never changes, and that's because it's in perfect structure. When you think about a crystal and you think about the molecules inside the crystal, they are bouncing around really, really fast, but they're at a perfect state for the crystal. What happens is you have a crystal and you get it into your physical body or around your body in your aura, which is fine too. And it changes the structure of your aura through entrainment, right? Entrapment is how it works. So if you have, I wish I had something big. Give me a second. Let me see this. So let's say I have this crystal, and this crystal in its own is perfect as it is. And then I lay it on my chakra. What happens is my heart chakra is now changing to the frequency of this crystal because it wants to adapt to this. I always think about like singers. You have a strong singer and a weak singer. When the weak singer gets around the strong singer, all of a sudden this person sings fantastically. And it's because the stronger energy is the one that's bumping it up. This is solid. It's not moving. It's the same frequency all the time. So you want this into your field. You want to carry crystals. You want to work with crystals. Crystals break contracts. They help soul retrieval. We'll talk about that as well. And they also break timelines, programs, and they help you rewrite the new field. And that's the part that I was talking to you about at the beginning. When you are bringing up these things that are in your past life, but maybe you're not aware of them, that's called old or outdated programming. The crystal is writing a new program for you. So then you're putting that into your field and it's adjusting to the new frequency. So it can't carry around the old frequency. Does that make sense? When you start to clear out the frequency, that's how new programs are able to come in. Programs for abundance, programs for healing, programs for health, whatever you want to write your program for, relationships, those kind of things. Each and every life that we live, yeah, they do all of this. They're magical beings. They don't look like much, right? They just look like something that you got out of the earth. But when you're holding them, when you're journeying with them, meditating with them, they do so much more. There's a book that I love too. I think it's called Book of Stones. I think it's by Natasha. I'm not really good with that, but Book of Stones maybe. And it tells you, like everything on the physical level, emotional level, and things like that to help and assist with each stone, like what they're correlated with. That's my favorite book. But when you are working with them and you're trying to, let's say, I use them in my practice all the time. If I need to release an attachment, a hitchhiker, I'm using a crystal so that they can go into the crystal and that I can release them elsewhere. It gives them like a little, okay, I trap them. That's really what I do. I can't come up with another way around that. I get them to go into my crystal so I can see them, so then I can send them to the light. Does that make sense? That's one of the things that I do. But they also help assist in working out the old energies within your system. So if you have a behavior or a program that's not assisting you and it's not helping you and you want to clear it, then you can actually get the old program into your crystal. And I teach that in my class too. Sometimes it breaks. Like sometimes you will notice the crystal will actually break, like physically make a line through it. Sometimes it has a serration in it that wasn't there before. Sometimes it has a dark spot that comes up. Sometimes they disappear and magically, and you're like, oh, where did it go? So they do. They're little magical beings. I love them. So then you also have crystal Reiki, which helps out your ancestors, the patterns, your past lives, and things like that. In the class, you get 3 symbols this time. We're going to do an attunement. And if you're already attuned to crystal Reiki, you're just going to get a deeper understanding and development of working with the symbols. But the symbols have been around for a long time. Every time you write a symbol, it becomes stronger into your field, into your impression. So sometimes when people work on, I can give you an example, the violet flame. I always use the violet flame. It's used to transmute energy. So my violet flame, because I have so much intention, because I work with Saint Germain, because I'm constantly doing it, may be at a stronger, higher energy than somebody who just started because they're working it, they're understanding it, they're getting into it. Does that make sense? Not that you have to do it constantly, but I do know people who work with it, all of a sudden their hands are on fire, like fire. Whereas other people, as they're working up in their head, like, how do I set the intention? How do I work with this? What should I do with this? And have doubt behind it. It's still effective, but the more that you do something, the better you get at it. It's just the way it is. I don't know. Just the way it is. It's still strong, still comes through. So crystal Reiki, the more that you do it, it's for that high energy field to come in, those high vibrations to come in, whereas earth energy, shamanism, is a lower frequency. So it's important to use crystal Reiki, and I really like the blend of the crystal Reiki and the shamanism together. So the way that we're going to work in shamanism for clearing out your ancestors, for working with your past lives. So shamanism is about journeying, as I explained in the first video, kind of like meditation, but more like drum hitting. The second thing is there's also ceremony. We do a lot of ceremonies. If you want to break a pattern, you have to do a bridge, build a bridge between your physical self and into the spiritual world. There has to be a bridge, and you learn how to cross this bridge. You learn your spirit guides, you become stronger with it, and then you can play with the energies of the universe. And that's really what you're doing. You're giving gratitude and saying, thank you for coming here. Thank you for helping me. Thank you for showing up. And this is what I want. So in this West direction, we learn how to break contracts with people that may not be good for us now. For example, my husband, even though I met him, he may not be in my highest good for this life. So I would have to go up and check, hey, is my husband a good part of my life this time, or do I need to release that? Those are things that you may want to consider. Thankfully, everything's good. I've been with him for 20 years. so things are good, but I'm just saying that as an example, right? So we're going to do ceremony, we're going to do journey, and we're also going to do rituals in order to bring the things up. Our ancestors, you have to learn who your ancestors are. You have to learn how to talk to them. You have to learn how to communicate with them so that maybe, if your grandfather was really hard, and your father is really hard on you, and you want to bring in some compassion into their lives, we have to learn how to do that. And you do that through ritual. You do that through using symbols for the crystal Reiki. You do that through using the crystals. So for the next 8 weeks, we're really going to look at our patterning, where we came from, who's being influenced by us, how to send them over to the light, and on soul retrieval. Soul retrieval is, there's going to be portions of your soul. One, you never incarnate as a full soul in this life. There's always going to be things left here and there. So when I tell you that I had a past life in Ireland, when I tell you I was there again as a nun, these things are coming into me now because they were not finished before. So that means that my soul is fragmented. And a lot of people have these fragmented souls. Also, if you had trauma, if you had a situation where you had an out-of-body experience, maybe you had a near-death experience, maybe you had something bad happen to you and you didn't want to mentally be there, you could have left your body to be safe. And in that time, we go and we retrieve the soul aspects of that time. You don't ever relive trauma. You don't relive the experiences that you went through. You are literally going back and grabbing the inner child, the person who left, the aspect of you that feels lost, confused, or less than, and you bring it into the whole body. So we will be doing that as well. That is shamanism. So I'm going to go up and see if you guys have any questions, because I know that I just talked a lot. And I want to make sure that I didn't. I want to mention one more thing. The last thing that I wanted to talk to you about was the theme. Your life will have these reoccurring themes over and over and over. Slavery, which is what I was going to talk about before, was a reoccurring theme for my client last week. And it was fun, not funny, but it's always interesting, right? And I said, well, I see a past life of you and a slave, as a slave. And she's like, that doesn't resonate with me. But then when we started thinking about aspects of her life, about how she feels like she always has to complete everything. She's always working really, really hard. She's not moving ahead in life. She doesn't get any, like her boss doesn't see her, doesn't get any recognition, just walks all over her. And I said, where's this coming from? Where is this coming from? So we found out that she lived a life as a slave. So things come up in themes. I have another client who has the theme of a king. So in the king, he expects, he's like the dictator. He can tell you where to do everything, you know, where are you going to move that? What are you going to do with that? How are you going to handle that? And he just sits there. He doesn't do anything. He tells me all the time, he's like, Amber, I do not do anything. I literally sit in my chair and I back up and I give directions to everybody around me. And I ask them questions like, where's that going to go? And don't you have that to do today? What else is on your list today? And it's because he has the king theme. So we're going to look into our themes too and see how it's woven into our whole entire place of life, that web of life. So there's a lot that we go through the West direction. Your theme, your past life, your ancestors, your current life, where do you want it to be at? And then we take all of that stuff and we use practices of the crystals being in your aura, of crystals, crystal Reiki for doing the upgrade on your symbols and working in the, I'm going to call it the high vibrational magic, because that's really what it is. And also the earth realm or the earth energy from shamanism. And I'm going to show you how to do the journey and do the ceremonies. In a few more days, we're going to talk about the earth elements and how to work with them. And we're going to talk about the trees and the nature spirits and how to make a despacho and all this other stuff. So I hope you enjoyed our conversation for part 2. And if you have any questions, just feel free to reach out and let me know. All right.